Welcome to How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast, a mix of both solo episodes and expert interviews. Our ideal listener is an early career, ambitious, and passionate online language services provider. She is committed to professional growth and achieving success in the fiercely competitive translation and interpreting industry. She balances multiple responsibilities with resourcefulness, values mentorship, is open to learning, and investing in her professional development journey. She embraces technology and seeks to optimize workflow, eager to connect with like-minded peers and build out her professional network. She is determined to overcome challenges and become a sought-after freelance translator. And here's your host, medical translator and translator business mentor, Jason Willis-Lee.
All right, welcome to How to Find More Direct Clients, a podcast hosted by myself, Jason Willis-Lee. This show makes digital marketing easier and more fun, using the perfect combination and just the right dose of business strategy and tech. I'm your host, Jason Willis-Lee, digital marketing specialist, and today I'm so thrilled to welcome my colleague, Josh Goldsmith. He has bags of experience in freelance translation and entrepreneurship, and Josh brings a unique perspective to our industry and this discussion. Josh, welcome to the show. So stoked you accepted my invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. It's great to be here. Can't wait to share some of the tips and experience I've accumulated over the years.
Thank you. I mean, can you share a bit at the beginning, just as an intro, about your journey in translation entrepreneurship and your vision for the long-term future of the industry? This is on everyone's minds. It's the Armageddon right now. Just a broad brushstroke or two.
Sure. So I first started working as a translator in 2008 or 2009 and worked as a full-time freelancer for 5 or 6 years. And so I've been through all of the things we have all been through when we're starting out, finding new clients. After that, I decided to move into interpreting. I went back to interpreting school and started working as an interpreter, did that for many years. And now I combine these two things with my love of tech and teaching. Actually, before I trained to be a translator or an interpreter, I did a master's degree in teaching and I taught foreign languages for a few years. And now I've sort of brought it all together and I run an online training company called techforword, where I teach translators and interpreters and other language professionals about the most cutting edge developments in our profession and how you can keep up and be competitive and be more productive in our changing world. And right now, that means there's an awful lot of talk about AI, but I know we'll get into that a little bit later.
Absolutely. You just give me the perfect lead-in for my first question. That sounds amazing, staying competitive and relevant in the AI Armageddon. So first question, leveraging tech for translator growth. With the rapid evolution of AI and MT technologies, how do you leverage these tools yourself to enhance your skills as a translator, and how do you teach others to do the same? And what role do they play in shaping the future of translation entrepreneurship?
So I think I want to start by saying it can feel scary and it can feel really big to work with any type of new technology or tool, whether that's AI or a CAT tool or a computer-assisted interpreting tool or what have you. And I just want to start by saying, take it one step at a time. I'm going to share a whole bunch of ideas, but don't try to do them all immediately. Just think about one little way that this could help you with your work. And so some very easy ways that AI can help you with your work as a translator or an interpreter are by helping with your writing, helping to power up your writing to explore synonyms and collocations and get ideas for new, clever ways to write things, not necessarily having AI write your texts for you, although that can be useful for sending off emails in foreign languages and pitch emails and things like that. But just getting it to be like your back pocket brainstorming assistant. And I'm going to share a free PDF with 15 ways that you can use AI to power up your vocabulary and writing with everybody watching the show. And so you'll see exactly what I mean about ways you can use AI to look for those synonyms and so on. There's obviously a lot more. You can use AI to help you pull out glossaries, or if you find the right materials, that your target audience is using, right, that your clients would use, you can harvest great terminology from what they're writing, or even from your past translations or from translation memories, get bilingual glossaries pulled out of this work that's been done by you or another professional translator in the past, so you can use your client's terminology. Those are just a few of the many, many ways that we can use AI and tech to help us with our work.
That sounds like an amazing resource. Thank you. I can't wait to get my eyes on that. 15 ways to use AI. What about pitching in industry clients? Do you use AI to pitch clients? I mean, how do you land clients and onboard clients? Can you share a story, maybe an innovative story, fun story of how you met a client recently? And is it a question of being in the right place at the right time, or do you follow a process for that pitching process?
So let me split this into two sections. First of all, I use AI a lot for writing emails, for correcting emails. One of the things we have to do as freelancers is write emails, whether it's just a response to a client to accept a project or a pitch email to a new client. And often those are not in our native language. So you can either get AI to simply draft an email for you in another language. You give it a few bullet points and say, write this email from these bullet points, or you can get it to proofread your work actually in your native language. We can proofread your translation or your copywriting project before you send it off, or it can proofread something you've written in a foreign language and improve it. Now, always use this as a starting point, not an end point. I say this over and over again, but this is a tool. It might have intelligence in the name, but the intelligent one is you. You're the smart language professional using your skills as an expert. And even if you don't write natively in the languages you're translating or interpreting from, you probably understand them pretty well. And you can say, oh, that's not how I would say it. That doesn't fit my tone. You can actually use AI a lot to tweak tone. So if you want it to be more casual or more professional, you can even give it some of your past writing and say, write in this tone. I have my next blog post that's coming out is called Get ChatGPT to Write Your Emails. So we can put a link to that in the show notes as well. It's already available as a webinar I put on for my Tech Forward Insiders members. So if people are itching to see it, if you're an Insiders member, check it out. Okay, so that's the AI for pitching angle. But I actually think the story I wanted to share with you about how I landed one of my best paid translation clients ever recently has nothing to do with technology. And it has everything to do with following your passion, being a good communicator, and the human touch. So a little secret, well, maybe not a secret, but something that many people might not know about me is I love board games. I have a collection of probably 100 board games.
Wow.
I've got a couple friends who are actually board game designers. And because they know I like games and, get together for an afternoon or an evening and play games, sometimes I get invited along to be a tester for their games. And recently, a colleague invited me to test one of his games. The game was designed by some Valencian board game designers. He's actually a producer. And so we went to test it. And the cards had text in Spanish, Valencian, and English. They'd had it translated. And they were asking for feedback. Obviously, we were playing the game, giving feedback on the mechanics of the game. But I kept saying, well, this isn't a really idiomatic translation for this particular term. Maybe you might want to give this card a different name. And by the end of it, he was like, Josh, this is such useful feedback. Can I hire you to translate my next game? And so it was that, just sharing your passion, sharing your linguistic knowledge, and these one-on-one contacts that in this case worked out and got me some really fun translation, transcreation work in a very, very, very clearly defined and very small niche that just happens to align with one of my passions. So that would be my advice, is niche down and be in the places where your clients are, share your passions, communicate your skills, be generous. I mean, I didn't expect that I was going to get a client out of this. I was just generously sharing my knowledge to make the game better.
Yeah.
And little things like that can lead to great collaborations in the future.
Yeah, making your work fun and energizing, because it sounds like you're combining your passion, what seems like a hobby with work, and that produced a job that produced income, well-paid income. So that's amazing. Yeah, I love the storytelling you did there, and we have one of our resources is a storytelling worksheet. That's so important to drill down on storytelling. Let's go and move on to the future outlook for translation entrepreneurship, Josh. Where do you see the future heading, our future as an industry, especially with the integration of AI tech? And what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or newpreneurs looking to enter the translation and interpreting industry?
So, first, I would say our industry has constantly been changing. It's changed over the 20 or so years that I've been working in it. And in the couple decades before that, we've seen lots and lots of new tools coming in. And they all seem scary at first. Machine translation seemed really scary at first. But it turns out that using translation memories and machine translation as a tool, not as your primary means of work, can help you produce higher quality work and produce work faster and more consistently, to use the same terminology that you've been using in past projects. The same is what's going to happen as more and more tools incorporate AI into them. And we're seeing this with translation tools. There are some AI first translation tools that are out there now. I've actually got a blog post about one of them called WordScope, which is the tool that we currently teach in our AI and translation bootcamp. It's a great tool because it's got basically ChatGPT right inside your web-based CAT tool, and you can ask it questions, and you can get it to clean up your text, and you can get it to give you synonyms, and you can get it to proofread and check the source and the target and see if there are inconsistencies and do lots of QA type work. So the answer is there are innovative developers out there thinking of clever ways to use technology to help us be more productive and more effective. There's another tool called BureauWorks that I ran a webinar on recently, and I think you've spoken to the BureauWorks team as well, that can really streamline and speed up the process and get AI to pull from multiple sources. The way it works is pretty complicated. We don't have to go into it now, but it pulls from all these potential translations and incorporates your terms and so on, and your style. It learns from your style. And so or your client's style, as the case may be. And over time, it can really speed up your work as well. So I think it's very important that colleagues look into these tools because they can help us do higher quality work and work more quickly, more efficiently, more consistently. But I also would say don't be overwhelmed by them. Test them out, see what works for you. Don't feel like you have to learn everything right now. Slow and steady, we are all growing together. And I do think that constantly learning is an essential part of our work as language professionals.
Absolutely. Yes, we are proud affiliates for BureauWorks. I'll make sure that link is in the show notes. And it is a question of skilling up and not being afraid of the tools. It's using the tools to leverage your time, as you say, to make us more productive and get that billable hour just notching up. That's what it's all about. Okay, let's move into the final 5 questions. I have a pretty wacky question, first of all. I mean, you're an AI expert. I'm going to ask you the weirdest thing you've ever, just in 10 seconds, or the first thing that comes into your head, the weirdest thing you've ever experienced with AI. Can you think of something wacky, something really off the wall? I came across a colleague who was programming ChatGPT to produce artwork of his childhood bands, his favorite childhood bands. And he would just do these online quizzes saying, which band is this? And obviously this colleague was 11 years older than me, so I didn't get any of them. But that's a pretty weird and creative thing to be doing with ChatGPT. Have you ever used it in that way or seen someone using it in that way?
Sure. I mean, I teach how to use AI to create images, both for social media, for professional purposes, and to help you with language learning. I run another project called AI Language Club, and you can actually get AI to create these images, and some of them can be pretty wacky. I would say it's not surprising. We hear about this a lot, but AI has bias. And so you're going to see that type of bias in the images that you create, unless you tell it like your background, racial, ethnic, age, and so on, you're going to end up with these pictures that are very stereotypical. So it's not wacky, but it's a bit sad actually that so much bias is perpetuated by these tools, and hopefully over time we can work to address that. We can certainly tweak it with the way we write our prompts.
Yeah, so interesting you mentioned bias, because that's a benefit of the humanized option. Of course, we get rid of that. What's one productivity tool or tip you can share that has helped your productivity as an AI expert, as an entrepreneur, as a translator? What tip can you give us?
Get an invoicing and project management tool. Number one tip.
I like
Stop doing this in Excel. Stop doing this in Word. I mean, sure, when you start out and you're just writing an invoice or two, that's fine to sort of find your way. But there are great tools out there that are very inexpensive. I'm a huge fan of lsp.expert, which is designed by translators for translators. My blog post that's coming out in the next day or two is about LSP Expert and walks you through all the amazing features it has. But I mean, these types of tools, whichever one you use, FreshBooks, QuickBooks, Xero, lsp.expert, can save you a ton of time. You get the project in there, you can have your deadlines in there so you don't lose track of any projects. You can keep track of payments when they're coming in. You can generate invoices with a single click. Actually, with LSP Expert, you can generate all your invoices for the month with a single click and fire them all off as emails, all from within the program. That saves you time, and that time is money.
Of course, of course. lsp.expert, we're going to get a link to that as well. Myth busting. I like myth busting because it helps me position, offers and products in front of people. What is the biggest myth people believe when it comes to translation and tech, AI? What is the biggest myth that people believe? You think a false belief or a limiting
Will be
belief?
Replaced.
Yeah, that's the one that comes to mind. Yeah,
definitely. Like everyone, but for decades we've been hearing we're going to be replaced by machine translation in the next 5 years, and 5 years later, what happens? We're still here. Exactly. We adapt, we evolve, we use these tools to be more productive and more consistent and make more money and produce higher quality work for our clients. But they're not replacing us. That's a myth.
What's the best business advice you've ever gotten or you've ever given someone else, maybe one of your students? Or what's the best advice one of your mentors has given you?
Follow your passions, niche down. Don't learn a language because you think you'll make money from learning the language. Learn a language because you love the language. And the same when it comes to picking your areas of specialization. Do the stuff you love doing. And yeah, it'll make every day fun.
I can't resist one more question here. This is just one word. In one word, how would you describe AI? One word.
Life-changing. Shall I unpack, or shall we leave it there?
Okay, unpack. Go and unpack. Okay.
AI is about so much more than what we've been discussing today. AI is being used in many, many parts of our lives. And one of the ways that I think it's life-changing is in medicine, because AI is really helping experienced professionals. You'll notice I keep saying experienced professionals to find cases of cancer, to come up with potential treatments, to improve the processing that goes into crunching all this data and figuring out how to provide the best treatment. And so AI in the hands of skilled professionals, again, is changing so many professions, I think, for the better.
I'm thinking particularly radiology. I mean, I studied medicine a few years as a younger man, as an undergrad. I'm thinking radiology especially has been revolutionized by AI. Okay, let's do a call to action to one of we'll get the 15 things worksheet, obviously, but could you remind us of the course where you teach AI to produce images? Was that just the name of that? Because that sounds super interesting.
So we cover that in our AI in Translation Bootcamp, which I put together with Nora Diaz.
Yep.
It's actually a really comprehensive course, one of the best ones I've ever put together, if I do say so myself.
Okay.
So it has 5 main modules. One of them is all about using AI for vocabulary, the stuff we were talking about before. A second one is about research, so AI-powered research, how it can help you sort out those really tricky acronyms and terms that you can't necessarily find in other ways. and how you can research from images and texts and all sorts of other fun, funky things to create glossaries. The third module is about AI-powered translation, and then we get into a module about using AI to write your emails, some of what I was discussing before, and to create images. And the final one is about AI-powered subtitling, which is, of course, relevant for many colleagues as well. I have the equivalent for interpreters coming out, the AI in Interpreting Bootcamp, and that one will have some extra stuff about working with audio and video files and AI as a way of preparing, and working with speech recognition to produce higher quality work when interpreting.
How much is the one for translators, Josh? Just in case an audience member wants to go.
249 euros.
249. Okay, cool. We'll get that linked as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's let me just briefly say it's a really cool course because in addition to being a course, we run it live as a boot camp twice a year. So Nora and I, we actually offer 2 slots, what I would say morning slot and evening slot. So colleagues from all across the globe can join us for that. And it's 90 minutes hands-on, 4 days in a row to really give you that jump start, that kick start that you need to start using these tools and give you the inspiration. We've got a pop-up community that goes with it. And when you buy it once, you get all future editions, all future updates of that live bootcamp. So it's something I'm pretty proud of. And the last one we ran was a ton of fun. The next one is coming up the interpreting one is coming up at the end of April, beginning of May 2024. And the next translation bootcamp is coming up in July 2024.
July. Okay. This sounds pretty, I'm pretty interested in this myself, guys.
Yeah, you should come.
Definitely. All right, closing thoughts. So any final thoughts or key takeaways? What's one key takeaway message you'd like to give my audience? They're obviously worried about AI. Hopefully they're less worried after hearing you. It's been very you're very impressive on a live podcast. So hopefully, my message is reinforced by what you're saying. Don't worry about AI. We're not going to be replaced. It is a question of adapting, as you said. Any final sort of takeaway message, that transformative arc from where people are to where we want to take them, both of us?
Maybe I'll just try to recap what I said so far.
Yeah, go for it.
Learn, grow, explore, pursue your passions, have fun, push yourself to bid high, to pitch clients that you might not have otherwise pitched, to get out there at industry events, whatever that might be. Instead of being worried about the future, embrace it and keep learning so that you can be one of the people shaping the future and can provide that added value to your clients and therefore land higher value clients.
Where can our listeners connect with you most easily and learn more about you, your work, and your expertise?
Sure. So I run TechForward, as I said before, and we'll put a link, I'm sure, in the show notes. I've got tons and tons of articles on my blog about many of the things I talked about today. The blog articles are all free. Check them out. And I also run a membership community with a live webinar on a new subject every month. And that's a really reasonable price at 25 euros a month. I've got lots of courses, and you'll find me on all social media. So LinkedIn, X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel. It's not all that updated, but I do sometimes share tips there as well.
You're easy to find. Cool. Okay, let's wrap it up today for today's episode of How to Find More Direct Clients. Stay tuned for more engaging discussions on the ever-evolving landscape of language, marketing, and AI. Until next time, remember to upgrade and reskill in all areas. Stay on your game, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Jason.
Here's a fun fact about Jason. Jason was born in Aberdeen, Scotland in the UK. Thanks for tuning in to the How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, why not head over to www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com to access all our tools and resources to monetize and future-proof your freelance translation business. And don't forget to hit the plus button in Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or subscribe in Spotify to be notified when new episodes drop. For regular tips and insights, business strategy, or marketing techniques straight to your inbox, please sign up at www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com.